All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about a prediction that was made by Mikey Garcia related to the Errol Spence Jr. Ugas fight. According to him, Errol Spence Jr. is actually going into this fight injured. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. Before I get into the subject matter of the video, please make sure that you support our sponsors, BUSR, at busr.ag/Fanon. If you bet $1 on the Super Bowl, you will be eligible to win $10,000 more. So make sure you go there, use the promotional code Fanon. Also, make sure that if you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button and hit that bell icon so that you can select all notifications so that you can be notified of when we release more videos. Also, okay, that said, let's get into this. All right, Boxing Scene released an article the day before yesterday. Today is January 30th, so this was on January 28th, quoting Mikey Garcia as saying that Errol Spence Jr. was going in to the fight against Yordenis Ugas injured, and that he feels that because of that injury, he is going to be hesitant in that fight and has a very good chance of losing that fight because you don't know how he is going to react to that. Now, the injury that he's talking about is one that we do not know whether it is actually still an injury or not, and that is the torn retina that Errol Spence Jr. suffered against in the training for Manny Pacquiao. And so Mikey Garcia is like, first of all, Ugás is a very, very good fighter. But Errol Spence Jr. has having coming off that injury, you don't know whether or not he is going to really trust himself, whether or not he is going to be hesitant in trying to fight Ugás, be worried about getting hit on that eye and let that injury affect him. And he also said if he gets hit in the eye and re-injures it in that eye, re-injures it, which is like, I suppose he's saying is, I don't know if it's likely, but it's possible that is going to affect the outcome of the fight, right? Now, my personal thing on this with Mikey Garcia is that, I don't know whether or not that's true. I don't think that that's true. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when Errol Spence Jr. originally injured his eye, he didn't know it was injured. And he went about sparring and doing everything that he was doing, having had a torn retina and not realizing that he had a torn retina at the time. It was only when he had a doctor and a doctor's review it for the fight that they discovered it and said, oh no, you got a torn retina, you can't go ahead with this fight. So when he received the injury originally, it wasn't a situation where he stopped fighting, he couldn't see, something like that took place, right? It was upon the doctors finding out that that was the case. So as far as something happening in the ring there, I don't think that's going to happen. But I will tell you that I think Mikey Garcia does have a point in this regard, because if there's the things that are worries for me for Errol Spence Jr. going into the fight, because I think this is a good fight. And it is a fight that I think Errol Spence is going to win. However, I'm not going to sit up here and say that I don't believe that Yordenis Ugas has the ability to pull off the upset. First of all, Yordenis Ugas is on a mental high right now, in that he beat Manny Pacquiao to get that belt. A whole lot of people didn't think Yordenis Ugas was going to be able to beat Manny Pacquiao. In my opinion, he dominated Manny Pacquiao in that fight, and he believes that he has truly arrived in the sport of boxing. So after that, and he's also a very, very disciplined guy. He's not somebody that is that would let that fight go to his head, not train. I think that he's probably going to come out feeling even more confident after the Manny Pacquiao fight. And also he's going to be confident about Errol Spence Jr. because he feels, and I don't feel this way, but he feels that he beat Sean Porter. And a lot of people are, back him and say, look, man, he fought better against Sean Porter than Errol Spence Jr. did, right? So, Yordenis Ugas, you're getting a guy that is active, number one, and we know that activity is something that is really important. And Errol Spence Jr., that is where I see his risk being, is that he has been is that he's been inactive. That as far as actual fights in the ring, I do believe the last fight that he had was almost 2 years ago with Danny Garcia, or however many months. He's fought one time. I know for sure he's only fought one time in the last, I believe in the last 2 years. He's only fought one time in the last 2 years, right? And it was a little bit a ways before that he fought Sean Porter. So he's not been a tremendously active fighter, and Yordenis Ugas has been more active than he is. So when you have Ugas, who is more active, who is coming off of a career-defining win, and also somebody that fights very well against southpaws, that is a recipe for somebody that's going to give Errol Spence Jr. a very, very good fight. I wouldn't want to put, and I've said this to a lot of people that do videos about this fight, I'm not counting Yordenis Ugas out in this fight for those reasons. I think a lot of people are counting him out because, certain sections of people are counting him out just because they don't want to give this man, if Errol Spence Jr. beats him, they don't want to give Errol Spence Jr. a lot of credit for the win. So they're going to say, hey, he's lost to other people before. He lost at 140 pounds. He lost to Sean Porter. I just think that, styles make fights. The style of Yordenis Ugas is one where he is definitely, a guy that is a come forward fighter, likes to throw body shots. He's also, he's an excellent counter puncher. Errol Spence Jr. though is a guy that can counter punch, and he can be aggressive. So I would see Errol Spence Jr. being able to win the fight, but a fight that I think is most likely going to go to the distance and have a bunch of people talking about it was a close fight, when the fight is over. And again, not discounting the chance of there being an upset in the fight. What I'm not going to put on Errol Spence Jr. going into the fight is saying that, because he had an injury, because he had an injury I do believe that was last November, because he had that accident in November, and he's fighting in April, that somehow is carrying into him and is going to prevent him from performing and, executing his game plan the way he wants to execute his game plan. He should be because he's coming off back-to-back training camps. He should be sharp in that regard. Now, I'm not a professional fighter, obviously, and I can't tell you about the shift that would need to take place between, what you're doing in the gym and what you're doing in, what you're actually going to do in the ring. I'm sure those are, radically different things, but I don't want to put that out there on Errol that, because he had that accident, that's going to prevent him from doing it. If anything, I think would affect him would be the inactivity. However, Errol has had spots of inactivity before, and I do believe that he learned from the things he was doing when he was inactive, like not training, not staying sharp. At this point in time, it seems like he stays sharp. He stayed close to weight. So, he'll have a chance to adequately prepare for the fight. But, as far as what Mikey says, man, I think this may, I wouldn't call Mikey a hater on that. I know people in the comment section are probably going to call him a hater. I don't think that that's the case, man, or I wouldn't put that on him. I think that is a fair question to ask. That's a fair thing to say, and a fair thing to wonder about, right? If a guy gets injured, what's he going to be like after he gets injured? But, I just don't see that because Errol didn't know he was injured when it happened originally. He found out about it in a doctor's examination, and the fight was called off. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out.